Hey guys, it's Shelby, otherwise known as Shelbizleee here on YouTube, and I'm coming at you today with a video about classism, socioeconomics, wealth and income inequalities, and really more focused on homelessness. So if you're subscribed to my channel, you know that my Wednesday videos are always about a social justice or political issue. And another thing you may have noticed over the past couple weeks if you're subscribed to my channel is I've been doing a lot of dumpster diving. So this Wednesday when this video goes up, I will have only posted 2 dumpster dives at this time. But I've actually done a lot more than just that because the 2 that I posted are centered very much around Ulta and makeup and stuff like that. But I've been doing dumpster diving in other places as well. And what sparked my want to make this video is actually this past weekend we did a dumpster dive at a health food store and we got a ton of food that was not expired and there was no reason for them to have thrown it out. Or I assume there was, right? But like it was perfectly good food. So we took it and donated it to a local shelter here. And when I went down there to give them this stuff, and also you'll have to just watch this Sunday, upcoming Sunday, there will be a video about this haul and all the things that were in there. It wasn't just food, but it was from another dumpster. I got a lot of other stuff to donate, so it was just a lot of stuff we took to donate. And going down there, downtown, where the homeless shelter is, that's where a lot of the homeless people tend to like hang out, and I guess essentially where they live. And just going down there and interacting with them and having conversations with them and giving them food and just having face-to-face interactions with these people, right? Like, I think a lot of times we can drive down the road and see them with their signs and see them sleeping on the sidewalks, but never really interact with them face-to-face. And I think that there is the stigma attached in our society that they are lazy and gross and just shitty human beings. And I really wanted to talk about that and how that relates to classism and the socioeconomic situation in our country. Or I should say in my country. I know a lot of times in these videos I refer to the United States as our country as if all of you watching are from the United States, but I've looked at my analytics and a lot of you guys are from the United Kingdom. So hi to you guys. And if I refer to the United States as our country, it's just, you know, it's what I'm used to. So I mentioned it before in a previous video that I worked for the Office of Sustainability at my university, and we focus not only on environmental sustainability, but economic and social sustainability as well. And during that time, I learned a lot about race, a lot about socioeconomics, a lot about systematic issues that stem from things way in the past that really not many people know about. The only way you would know about it is if you had an interest in it yourself and you took it upon yourself to go look it up. So this is a much deeper issue than what I can cover today in this video, but I just want to give you a little bit about my experience and maybe give you guys a different perspective. Because I've noticed oftentimes I take for granted that I am excuse the like whatever you want to call this, the way this is going to come out, but I feel like I'm very woke in comparison to many people in this country, in this world, especially for my age group. I like to challenge my beliefs and my views of the world, and I really always like to get a new perspective on, you know, how the world works and what's around me and other people's reality and things like that. And I think I take for granted that not a lot of people do that, so not a lot of people know about these issues because you, like I said, you would never just come across this. You're not taught this in school. You'd have to want to know about it on your own. So let me start by saying that the United States in and of itself is a very unnatural thing. It's a place where it's full of different cultures and different races, backgrounds and religions. So naturally, the United States would not exist anywhere in the world, right? And I happen to think that we are just another mammal, just another part of the animal kingdom. And it comes natural to us, I think, to try and classify ourselves as this person is worse than me or this person is better than me and this is what I should aspire to be and these people are, you know, worse off than me and I'm better than them, and that sort of mentality. I think that that is just a natural thing that happens in any society. And I just wanted to point this out because a lot of people do label homeless people as lazy or gross and they see them as being below them. I mean, I'm coming from a point of view of I know people in my family and people I've, you know, interacted with in my days in college that look down at people who are homeless and as if it's just a choice, like as if it's just something that's easier for them. If you could try sleeping out one night on the streets, you tell me that's easier than, you know, getting a job and like living a normal life. I don't understand that mentality of people who think that, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But something I want people to realize is those people are no different than you and I. other than the fact that they've had some struggles that maybe you and I haven't had, and they haven't had people to help them out of it. But they're still humans, you know, they're still a life. They are still a person. I think you see these people on the side of the road, like I said, all the time, at least I do, living here in Austin, and you get desensitized to their reality. You know, I think a lot of the issue of people who are homeless comes from mental disabilities. A lot of them are schizophrenic. If you look at stats of homeless people, a lot of them have mental disabilities, depression. And I used to think that depression was something like, why are you so weak-minded? Like, just get past it. But you have to understand mental illness is not something you can just get past. It's a dysfunction in your brain. The chemical levels in your brain are off. It's not something to just, you know, like, get yourself motivated. Like, that's not what it is. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't try to understand it that way. And so what going down to the homeless shelter made me think of is this discussion once in my environmental science class that we had about food waste. If you guys don't know, I believe it's about 40% of food in the United States gets thrown out. So that means all the food we produce, 40% of it people aren't even eating. It's literally going to landfills. And I remember we were talking about what the environmental impact of that in my environmental science class. And we were tasked with how do you fix that problem. And so people in the class, naturally, your first reaction is, well, have them donate it. Just have the businesses that are throwing the food out, send it to the homeless shelter. And then the question came up, well, if it's cheaper for them to just throw it in the trash, why would they spend money taking it to the homeless shelter? And I have to tell you, this is where my disdain for capitalism and consumerism came from. But anyway, you know, that's what they said. What's the motivation for them to take it down to the homeless shelter if it's just cheaper for them to throw it out? And that's something else I had to come to terms with then, which this was my freshman year in college, is corporations don't give a shit about the homeless, about the needy. They are not people, even though the Supreme Court would disagree, even though our government would disagree. They're not people, and they don't have emotions, and they don't have empathy. So if it's going to save them money to just throw it out, why would they spend the extra money to donate it? That's extra money in gas, have to pay the person to take it there, have to change your procedures, and it takes longer to separate things out instead of just throwing it in the trash. And so that's an extra cost to the business. So then we were like, well, what if we made it simpler and we had, you know, people come around and pick it up from all the businesses? Like, they get in contact with Whole Foods and Walmart and all these places, and they just come around and pick up the food whenever, you know, they're about to throw it out. And then my teacher pointed out, well, who's going to pay for the vehicles to pick up the food? Who's going to pay for the people who are, you know, doing the work, who are driving the vehicles and picking up the food? Who's going to do those things? Who's going to pay for that? And then we quickly came to the realization that, well, shit, the only way that that's gonna happen is if you don't pay the people, right? So that was our next step is, well, get volunteers to do it, and then get volunteers to pay for the gas and the cars and all those things. And it's like, but what a struggle that is, right? You've got to have a really serious commitment to this issue to do it on a daily, weekly basis. You've got to have a string of people who are committed to doing it so that these companies know that you're reliable, so that they know when you're going to be there and all these things. And it just kept getting like stacked on stacked on stacked. And we realized it's just easier to throw things out in this country. And that realization has stuck with me so strongly ever since, you know, we had that conversation in class, and I just wanted to put that into perspective for you guys. It blows my mind how sad that is, right? I touch on this because, like I said, classism, I think, and hunger and homelessness, giving people food doesn't solve world hunger, doesn't solve homelessness, right? It's a stopgap, a Band-Aid, basically. But the thing you also need to understand is in the United States, in the world, we're producing enough food right now in the world to end world hunger. But instead of giving it to the people who are hungry, we're throwing it in landfills and we're stuffing it down the throats of animals. And that's a whole nother video in and of itself. But you need to understand that. I don't think people understand that. Where would you know that information from unless you wanted to know it, right? With all that in mind, I wanted to lay out a scenario that came to my realization, I guess a few years ago when I was in college and I was hanging out with one of my friends and we were just at a park, okay? Like, it was pretty late at night. We had been hanging out and we just didn't want to go home, you know, those sort of nights. Anyway, we were hanging out at a park and one of my guy friends decided he needed to go to the bathroom. There wasn't a bathroom around, so he walked over, you know, did his thing, whatever. A cop happened to be nearby, saw him doing this, and came over to talk to us. He told us that peeing in public is a crime, which, I mean, I feel like that's kind of goes without saying, but at the same time, how fucking weird is it that the most natural thing that humans were meant to do is, like, illegal? Like, that's weird in and of itself, but besides that, the cop let us know, you know, he wasn't trying to get us in trouble, he wasn't going to write us a ticket or anything like that. He just wanted to let us know that, hey, There have been people in the past classified as sexual predators because they were caught peeing in public in an area that is known for children to be playing. And I remember I was not woke, if you would say that back then. But ever since that happened, I thought about it and I thought, wow, like that would fucking suck. Like you're just going to the bathroom and you know how that could impact the rest of your life? Like just doing something that seems so innocent. And I started thinking about people who do things, maybe not like that, but do things that are not so severe and they get arrested, okay? And this is me trying to show you, like, homelessness is a serious issue. It's part of classism. And homeless people don't have an option to go to the bathroom. It's a privilege. It's not something that they normally have. And so if they have to go, they have to go outside. And that's something that could get on your record. You could go to jail doing things that seem not like you need to go to or deserve to go to jail for. Or even if you're just a middle class person, people go to jail all the time for things that are not worth going to jail for, like simply marijuana charges, okay? Let's say that. You get caught with marijuana and you go to jail. Like some people go to jail for being in possession of marijuana, paraphernalia, charges for intent to sell and things like that. And I started realizing, like, if you were arrested for that and you went to jail for that, what happens to if you have an apartment and you can't pay your bills while you're in jail? What happens to your car while you're in jail if you don't have someone to help you out with those sort of things? It hits your credit. So now not only do you have a record, your credit's fucked. By the time you get out of jail, you can't find a job. Your credit is fucked up from all your things rolling over. And I just started to think, like, if you don't have people to help you out, what do you do? And like, you end up in this system where you could end up homeless and end up depressed and then get into drugs. And it's just like, there's this cycle of things that could happen. And I don't think anybody ever stops and thinks about why is someone homeless. It could be not that they're lazy, that they just got in trouble for something that was dumb. It could have been that they were young. It could have been they didn't know better. It could have been something as stupid as urinating in public, and it could ruin your life. And like I said, I just think it's innate as humans to put those people below us to make ourselves feel better. And in a time where the middle class is doing really freaking shitty, if you look at the statistics, almost half of our population is living under poverty right now. And I just think that it's so innate in us to put other people below us to make ourselves feel higher. And I think that's something that we need to check. Okay, if there was ever a time where I felt after what happened to me this weekend, you needed to understand what privilege is, it's this. Do not classify people who don't have it as good as you, who maybe had struggles more than you, who maybe didn't have parents to help them out or grandparents to help them out, or didn't have loans or got caught doing something stupid as they're young. Whatever the fuck the reason may be, you don't know someone's reality. Don't judge them for it. Don't label everyone lazy. Don't call them gross. Don't treat them differently with less respect in society because maybe they don't have as much money as you. Everyone deserves as much respect as they give you. If someone treats you shitty, fine, fucking treat them shitty. But I've never been treated shitty by a homeless person. I just hope that the next time you see a homeless person, you don't label them as lazy or less than you. Understand that some people's reality is just different than yours. And I mean, let's also think about even if they were just not lazy. Let's talk about if they went and got a job. Well, what? A job that makes $7.25 an hour? What the fuck difference is that going to make? You know, to get a job, you have to have an address because they have to mail you paperwork. And if you don't have an address, how do you get a job? And let's say you get past that hurdle and you get a job and you get this shitty ass paid job that's literally a poverty wage. If you're working 40 hours in America at minimum wage, you're fucked. That's a poverty wage. Who can live off of that? No one. And that's just if it's you, not even if you have a child to support. Let's go there. So should people who don't have as many skills as maybe you do they deserve to live such a shitty, stressful, unhappy life? In this society that makes us think that you have to have all these things as a consumer, as a capitalist, to be successful, to be someone that deserves respect. I mean, like I said, this is such a deeper issue than I can explain in this video, but I want you guys to think about it because I don't think this is something that many people think about on a normal basis. And aside from, you know, if you get a shitty job that pays you minimum wage, there are corporations that instead of paying people a living wage, instead of paying their workers living wages, they pay another person to get people onto food stamps. Do you understand that? That's just another way that the government is subsidizing these huge corporations. Instead of raising the minimum wage and having them pay their workers a fair minimum wage, they're subsidizing those low wages with giving these people food stamps because even some people who work full-time qualify for food stamps because we are in a situation where our minimum wage leaves people in poverty. And if wages had kept up with the inflation in the United States, our minimum wage would be so much higher than it is right now. But no one talks about that. Very rarely do people talk about that. And just let me tell you, back in college, I applied for food stamps to see if I could get them. And I was only working, I think, like 14 hours a week or something at this time. And I didn't qualify for food stamps. I got rejected. Because in Texas, I think it might be a federal law, but I know here, you have to work 20 hours a week in order to qualify for food stamps. You can't just be sitting at home and getting food stamps. And that's another thing that people in the middle class often point down to, the lowest income people in the United States, the people who have the least amount of power, and they think they're the problem. You know what I'm saying? They think those are the lazy people who are just lazy and they just want entitlements and handouts. And it's like, you have to understand the reality of the United States is people who are working 40 hours a week still qualify for food stamps because they're still below the poverty line. And when we fail to recognize that the real culprits are the oil companies that our tax dollars, you and me, our tax dollars are subsidizing, and they don't need help. They're billion-dollar companies, but yet here we are. And just the wealth inequality, the socioeconomics of the United States, I don't think a lot of people are aware of it, and it keeps people down. The system keeps people down. And I know that some people say, well, you can't depend on the government to fix everything for you, but you can't get past if you're a low-skilled worker, or even if you are skilled, even if you have a college degree sometimes, you can't get past how low wages are without government intervention. Corporations will pay people as small amount as they can get to maximize their profits. That's what they do. And I just think it's really important to take all of these things into consideration when judging other people, when thinking about how you treat other people, with how you interact with other people, and with how you understand other people's realities. So that's all I had to say today, you guys. I know it was kind of a lot, but it was just something I've been thinking about ever since this weekend. And yeah, I'm so inspired by some of the dumpster dives I've done recently. And I hope you guys will check that out. My dumpster dive videos are going to be uploaded on Sunday. And if you're a guy who doesn't wear makeup or a girl who doesn't wear makeup and you're not interested in my old dumpster dives, this Sunday is going to be a different dumpster dive. So yeah, stay tuned. And I hope you guys all have a happy Thanksgiving. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, make sure you do that. Please thumbs up this video and share it with anyone who you think needs to be maybe in general made aware of these issues. Like I said, I don't think it's something that people think about on a normal basis, and you don't have a reason to look it up unless you have an interest in it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Shelby, otherwise known as Shelbizleee. You can check me out on all my other social media. And until next time, create the peace. That doesn't mean that as white people we have to feel guilty for slavery, no. But I do think it means that we have to recognize that those systematic problems that haven't been removed from our country for that long still play a role in black people's lives every day. I mean, I can't film a video without him disturbing us. He'll be in the bloopers all the time. He's cheapy. He's a cutie.